Yeah, my name is Xiaoyan Lu, and I came to US in 1996. I joined my husband, then I started studying for my graduate school. And once I graduated, so we feel like America is such a big, great country with a lot of opportunities. So we decided to stay here, and we found a job, and we had a family, we raised the kids. So this is the 25th year I have been here.
Wow.
So it seemed a long time, but still, I feel I'm still like a new immigrant. I have a lot of things to learn. And actually, I did feel I learned so much. I grew up so much with my kids together, especially in the last 10 years.
That's interesting. I want to I want you to introduce yourself, Ming. I want to pick up on that point, though, you just made, though. You said that after 25 years, you still feel like a new immigrant. Can you comment on that a little bit more?
Sure. So it's because as we had I spent my first 22 years in China, right? So
yeah.
I got my undergraduate education, or the pre-college education over there. So I still have a lot of roots over there, I still have my families, over there.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of connections over there, and in these 25 years, I try to absorb as much as possible to immerse myself into the Western culture and to connect people outside from different backgrounds. But still, as a new immigrant, there are a lot of barriers that I need to overcome. That's the first thing. The second thing is at my side, I am American Chinese, right? So I am American first, but in the root, I still have a Chinese heritage that I'm connected deeply with.
I also, Ming, wanted to give you a chance to tell us about yourself.
So I actually, Xiaoyan and I share some similarity.
Yeah.
So we all came here as a graduate student. So I came here because my husband too, so he pursuing his PhD study. So I followed him kind of like, because first I did my master. So after master, I thought, maybe let's try out the industry field. So I tried that out because at the beginning I'm thinking, maybe I take a break of the study, then try the industry, then pursuing my PhD as he did too. So once I stepped into the industry, I kind of it's hard to go back.
Yeah.
So we kind of just more naturally settled down because while we were in the graduate school, we went back to China, visit families because our immediate family, they're still in China. So every year, then gradually I feel like where I'm fitting in. I started to feel like while I'm talking to my friends in China, I don't know what they're talking about sometimes. Those contacts and the background, the things they're interested, and I started to feel like, so like when you came to a point you want make a decision, you want to stay where you want to stay. So we finally choose to stay here since while my husband's still pursuing his study, I started my career here. So then similarly, we started our family, then gradually just stayed here it's been our 20th year anniversary. It's amazing.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like what you're saying is your experience of China is of 20 years ago, and it's changed, 20 years of change that you don't relate to 100% anymore.
Exactly.
The news you hear when you talk to people back home, do you have a similar experience?
Definitely, I feel I'm kind of grown apart with my old friends in China. A lot of things we have a different view now because our different background and different growing experience.
name is easy to pronounce, but then have you had, if you're willing to share, any experiences with using your original name and what it means?
Sure. Yeah, my first name actually go back to the original name system. So in China, I don't know about the other like East Asian country or South Asian country. We go by first name first, last name first. Actually,
I did read about that. Yeah.
Yes. So when we first came here, I have to adjust. Yes, the people call me by first name, and also in China, you should not call people first name. You have to, if you want to show respect, you need to call them. For example, Brian, your last name is Hoffman, right?
Yeah.
So we, as a student, I should always call you Mr. Hoffman. Actually, when you look at a lot of Japanese manga, and also they call the 先生, they call the 先生. Actually, it's a teacher, means teacher. So in China, people always call Hoffman teacher. We never call you O'Brien, and yeah, it's so casual here.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. Okay, so that's interesting too, because I guess that could maybe be one reason why some Chinese people are using a different name in the West, because of the big difference between using the surname first in China and then not referring to somebody. Am I getting that right? So you would use the surname, but not.
Yeah, it's just the showing respect. Yeah.
So people wouldn't call you Ming in China.
No, they either call the full name Kuang Ming.
Oh, okay.
Instead of Ming. Yeah.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, even at home, right? Let's say you have like your sister or brother, and in China they don't call each other's name. They call sister or brother. They don't call their first name.
I think there's another layer. I felt like once since I have been here for almost 20 years, my feeling is, and the articles and I have read, there's another layer. Maybe it's kind of like an institutional prejudgment sometimes, and people just don't want to, because the experience in the past, in the like a history, the suffering people, the immigrants suffered here, so they probably just don't want to associate with those names. For example, when by the time the World War II, the Japanese, how many Japanese people being suffered? So maybe people will say, "Oh, I'm not Japanese." Similar like this, the name. And also, I read an article recently about the college admission. So, like Asian students often being like framed as model minority.
Yeah.
They're always hardworking and cooperative and get good grades, especially good in STEM, and also high SAT scores. So, but when come to the college admission, there's 1 year graduates mentioned. When he applied for the graduate school, the college for Yale, he probably not showing any indication about the association with Asian, because his name, the last name of his, is kind of like very rare in the Asian last name. So it sounds like a Western name actually. It's not doesn't have any association with the Asian name or maybe Chinese name specifically, last name.
Right.
So then he has another friend with similar background, achievement, applied a similar school, but his best friend didn't get into the Ivy League. He got into the Yale.
Yeah.
So he was thinking about, he did this kind of study, he was thinking about it because that he cheated. He called him a cheater.
Because of the name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we ask a lot of questions like, why do people do this? But then it's, that's hard to figure out. There are a lot of structural reasons within a society. So I'm interested in that, but I'm also interested in the experience of what it's like to be the victim of racism or to be marginalized, or and it seems to me that at least one part of it is exactly what we're talking about, where people are put into these categories that create a set of expectations. Like somehow China is a threat to us because of coronavirus, and overnight, I watched it happen last year when COVID hit, and the world was suspecting it came from a laboratory in China. Whether it's true or not, it hardly matters. It's then immediately people of Asian descent are being attacked around the world, and I'm curious about, if you're willing to share about that experience. What's it been like for you since this pandemic started?
Yeah.
Kind of a broad question.
Yeah, I know. Was it happened only about 1.5 years back? It feels like a century.
It does. It does feel long.
It feels so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we first get to know about this issue back in, I think that was January 2020.
Yeah.
Even before most of the U.S. people know about that, because we get news from our relatives or friends back in China, right? And they started to report the issue in Wuhan. And I think that was in around the New Year, Chinese New Year time. It was so bad, and Wuhan just shut down the whole city completely. So we were really concerned and worried, as we still have a lot of relatives. My relatives are in Shanghai area, but I know a lot of other people here. They have relatives and friends in Wuhan city.
Yeah.
So we were really concerned, and people here even send a lot of the support over, try to do these things to help them, to maybe provide medical consultation and provide other support. And for my son, my kids, what they did is they organized the online tutoring system to the kids in Wuhan, because Wuhan schools are all shut down and all the kids are locked at home pretty much.
Yeah.
So my kids, they just organized some seminar or some like a book reading club, and just teach English remotely to the kids in Wuhan. And during the class, you can hear everybody's voice was really nervous over there, and sometimes the kids will start crying, and it was very emotional.
Yeah, and then we got that, so it was kind of a prelude for us. We experienced some of this. We experienced all of it. The only part we didn't experience was the complete unknown, because this was brand new in China, where it originated, and if we were terrified when things shut down, we had already seen other countries in the world dealing with it by then. So the first places to have it, I can only imagine really how horrible it must have been.
There's another thing, as you mentioned, remind me another thing. So I feel like what Americans means to me, I feel like actually by go through we organized a rally together with Xiaoyan, and also I made so many new friends. And one of the friends I made recently, and she really inspired me actually. She had a saying in one of her articles. She mentioned the sense of the belonging is action. I feel what America means to me is the action. So I normally is a very quiet person. I tend to hold back. So you'd never think, I'm speaking with strangers or like this being interviews. I normally feel very nervous, but I feel like I need to speak up and stand for myself, for my community. And also there's a lot to learn. I need to know other group people. So I watched the clips you shared with us with Mike, and I was so moved by the thing. Even though we haven't been mad with each other, I feel like you're my friend already after watching your video with Mike.
That's very moving to me, and I appreciate that. I have something I don't share very often with people is I often feel, not with everybody, but I often feel like we're already friends, and it's hard to express that. And it's happened to me in my working life, where I'll move to a new department or something like that, and I'll meet new people, and I already feel like I'm very comfortable, and I already know the person. But then I realize they have to catch up too. But what I think's happening is this dynamic of we have to know what other people are about, and we have to know if we can trust. And trust has to be earned. And how do we earn trust? It's a difficult thing. I asked Mike in the interview. I said to him, I feel like I wanted to walk up to black people on the street after all these shootings, and just say, hey, I'm just a neighbor, kind of a regular white guy, and I feel terrible. I just want you to know that. I don't know what else to say to you. And I said, how would that go? And you might remember it in the interview. He said, that would be good. That would be all right. I kind of feel like it wouldn't go okay with everybody. And so how would it go with you if you didn't know me? If I just walked up and I said, because I'm thinking about the salon shootings a few months ago, and we're check in with people. How would it go to walk up to strangers?
Actually, we have been checked in by quite a few white people on street.
Yeah.
And a lot of them show support. And I can see they are very sincere. They care about us. So we won't feel. I was moved by their nice gesture.
These were strangers that came up to you?
Strangers.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That did happen.
Just to give you an example, because I constantly run. I'm a runner, so we organize a running event in the local, just running on the, for instance, downtown area and also the canal. And we also, we wore the T-shirts and also had a poster about the Stop Asian Hate. And we encountered several groups of white people and also, other colored people, and they just came to us. What they said is the thing happening in Atlanta is just disgusting.
Yeah.
And we need to stop that. I feel their nice gesture. We will. I just really appreciate that they came to us and showed the support.
Yeah, that's very moving. I'm really happy to hear that was the response you got. Because when you wear a shirt like you're describing, it's a target as much as it is an invitation. And you could see it go in different directions. People see you wearing that and they feel threatened or something, or they're racist and they suddenly target you for it. I'm glad it was the opposite experience. So then I worry about T-shirts and bumper stickers and how they might separate us. But then there's a way you have to have. It's like the topic for discussion.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a love-hate relationship I have with, not hate, but love, concern for something simple like a bumper sticker or a T-shirt. But then that's a wonderful. Else you want to share? You can ask me questions too. I mean, that's fair play, right? You could.
I do have a question. Yeah. I was wondering, just as we speak about how to educate our minds about different groups, the culture and history, I was wondering how much in the K-12, as you're familiar with the high school, the curriculum, the ELA, language arts curriculum, and specifically to our group is Asian American history.
Well, so I can only comment on high school English, and I can tell you, and this is, I promise I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I want to be also fair. I can only really speak from my experience, and a little bit about what I see. But about 15 years ago, I attended a workshop, a week-long workshop at Indiana University. It was called East Asian Literature, I think. The whole idea was to infuse East Asian literature into curriculum, English departments around the country. And we even got a $500 stipend, and we were to use it to buy books. So after that experience, I had read very widely. It was they identified China, Korea, and Japan as East Asian nations. I think that probably is still true. I don't know if we add Taiwan.
Okay.
Maybe. But at any rate, that's the three countries. And so read a bunch of short stories, poetry, and one or two novels. So when I came back, I bought Family by Ba Jin. I don't know if you're familiar.
Ba Jin, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're famous also.
Yeah, and we taught that for a few years, and it was an enjoyable experience for me. So to answer your question more directly, I think that we have work to do. I don't think we have Asian texts consistently throughout all the years, but I mostly teach sophomores and I taught seniors for many years. Part of the reason I don't teach those books anymore is I don't teach seniors anymore either.
And for the Asian American, there's a long history about how, let's take Chinese immigrants, right? They came to U.S. about in 1850, around that time.
Yeah.
They built the railroad. They went to the gold rush.
Yeah.
So, but it seems that history is forgotten in the history book.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think. I think that's probably right. And I'm thinking about my education, which would have been a long, long time before these guys. It would, to be blunt, it was a stereotypical education. So we would talk about names and dates, and Chinese people helped build railroads. Remember that for the test.
Yeah. But they're missing from the final picture post when the transcontinental railroad completely finished. They have a final post, a picture. They were missing from the picture.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So that's a special kind of pain to not have even be recognized.
Yeah. Think about how much the first transcontinental railroad, the contribution to the U.S. history and economically and politically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's very sad. I recently listening the seminar by Helen Zia. I was confused by her last name. She's definitely, I don't know if a second or third generation of the Chinese American. Her last name is speaking about name Zia. So have you heard? Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that, even for like a Chinese descent. Yeah. I heard the pronunciation is Zia. Yeah, Helen Zia. So her talk is like the missing in history. But we're like Asian America is missing in history, but we're invisible enemies.
Yeah.
Because think about this, like go back to the Chinese Exclusion Act. Go back to that time. Then when you come to a little bit closer, the World War II, the Japanese people, Japanese immigrant here. And also when you come to a little bit closer about the Vincent Chan, because the people feel like they're losing the auto industry because of the Japanese invasion of the auto industry. So then the more recent coronavirus.
As soon as it's interesting because you see, you're showing me a pattern. It's industry, it's competition, it's feeling threatened over maybe jobs or opportunity. Well, where's the humanity in that? Where are the people? And that's, if we go back to that, that's our default. It's people over tech, people over progress. Well, when we say progress, I mean progress like building a railroad. What's more important? Well, the railroad industry, I mean, we know the oil industry, the railroad industry, the history, these companies were cutthroat and ruthless. The diamond mines in the continent of Africa. It seems like we're giving up our humanity for money.
And there are also political facts inside, right? So a lot of times the Asian community just become the scapegoat.
Yeah. Yeah, I said to my students, you know, even if the virus turns out to have come from a lab in China, in Wuhan, it could have come from any number of other countries for one thing. And by the way, so what? That's if you want to be mad, be mad at the country, the leaders of China, the lab, if you want. But the Chinese people, well, I mean, why would you be mad at the entire people? How can we blame an entire people as if you all just voted somehow? Yes, let's release this virus, which is absurd. And but we see it play out over and over again.
That's so true.
Right? So
I think at the bottom of the human nature, you know, their kindness
yeah.
and their compassion to unite people together.